Hello there and welcome back to another review. So today we're going to be having a look at Jackie Chan's first attempt to sort of crack and break into that American market, and we're going to be having a look at the 1980 vehicle Battle Creek Brawl, otherwise known as Big Brawl, directed by Robert Clouse, made the same year that Jackie Chan made Young Master. As I say, Robert Clouse is most famous for directing Enter the Dragon, of course. The film at its core is quite a cool idea. Battle Creek Brawl, I think at its core, what they were trying to go for is quite a cool idea, setting it in the 30s. So Jackie's character Jerry would be in that sort of music hall era where a lot of films from the likes of Buster Keaton were made, in which Jackie was always compared to Buster Keaton and Harold Lloyd and people of that sort of caliber. I think the Big Brawl really isn't as bad as some people make it out to be. Obviously, it wasn't the success they were hoping for, and it didn't do overly that well. I mean, I think it was just sort of a moderate success. It's one of them films that if you had this premise, this setup, and this setting, and you let Jackie direct it, the film probably would have been a hell of a lot more entertaining. But than it actually is. A lot of the crew that were in that worked in this film also worked on Enter the Dragon as well. Due to the film not meeting expectations, Jackie was urged to sort of try supporting roles in the likes of sort of Cannonball Run with Burt Reynolds in the hopes, to try and crack into that US market. Something he really didn't do, sort of crack in to that market until about 15 years later. Obviously with Rumble in the Bronx, directed by Stanley Tong. It's not, this film, it's not awful, and it is entertaining in a light-hearted, fun sort of way. Of course, I don't think Jackie was happy with the way the fight scenes were handled. Obviously, him not having much to say in regards to the editing, directing, and of course things like, the post-production and that aspects of the film. I know there was a lot of altercations and things on the set where Robert Clouse, the director, was like, okay, Jackie walked from the car to the restaurant, and Jackie was like, who's going to pay to see Jackie Chan just walk, and it's such a shame, with Battle Creek Brawl and films like The Protector, they didn't let Jackie sort of have a bit more, control and just in regards to fight scenes or, anything like that. I'm sure he did have a say, but in terms of post-production, I don't think Jackie Chan had a lot to do, well, if nothing to do with it. And Jackie Chan very much hands-on with all aspects of his films back in the day, from editing, writing, starring, you name it. The main difference with US choreography at the time and Jackie's Hong Kong style was they shot through the whole sequence sort of all in one take, usually using as little takes as possible as necessary, with very little in regards to editing. Jackie's style was more to do with takes needed. He would do as many takes needed, sometimes only having one or two punches and then changing the angle, etc. I think as a whole, Battle Creek Brawl is suited to Jackie Chan. I think the film works with what Jackie Chan is and his style. I think, like I said, on paper with the premise and what they were going for, I think it's quite a good idea. I think Battle Creek Brawl is not as bad as some people make it out to be. In many ways, it is the perfect vehicle for him to be in. The setting is right, the story is fine, it's simple enough, and the whole mood and the style is awesome, quite awesome. And whilst the Big Brawl as a whole works, and I think it does, it's just the fight scenes in this movie that sort of let it down. I think as a whole, the film could really have worked. Like I say, it's a very simple premise, it's a very simple setup, and like I say, the setting and things like that all could work with the Jackie Chan movie, and what they were going for is quite a novel idea. I just think it's the fight scenes, like I say, that sort of let it down. This was a movie that I wasn't even aware of, I don't think, when I was sort of 12 years old. It wasn't until I read I think the biography I read was sort of Inside the Dragon, but like a sort of biography on Jackie Chan, that I became aware of this film. The supporting cast are fine here. We have Mako, José Ferrer, David Sheiner, all do a fine job, enough job. And the idea of Jackie Chan taking on wrestlers and the mafia is quite a cool idea. As I say, at its core, there's quite a cool idea here going on with this film. It's just unfortunate it wasn't handled right, and it's just not as good as it could have been. But I think it's still a very good attempt from Jackie at his first go at the US market. Obviously, he wasn't happy with it, but I think Big Brawl, it's really not that bad. In a way, it's quite a harmless movie. So we'll be getting into Battle Creek Brawl today. So before we get into it, let's just say the music to the film is awesome. Okay, the music in this film, it suits it. It really works. That classic maestro that is Lalo Schifrin here, who also done Enter the Dragon, Bullet. What other film scores did he do? Dirty Harry was another one he did. The awesome jazzy bass groove works with the film so well. So we meet this gang boss who is looking for a fighter for this big massive brawl that is happening in Texas. We introduce to Jerry, Jackie's character, doing like some nice move and showing off his physical ability on like this metal framework as his girlfriend sort of waits below in the car on the road. And I love the way he descends too. It's it's just great. Jackie Chan. It's a great introduction to Jackie as well. So we have the same goons who work for Dominici, the Don, threatening Jackie's father at a restaurant. So initially you think they're going to go down the whole sort of way of the dragon, sort of, where they're sort of trying to take over the restaurant or get money from the restaurant or whatever it may be. So you think initially it's going to go down that route, with the restaurant being threatened. I mean, you have to be jealous of Robert Clouse in a way, because he got to work with Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan. He got to sort of direct both of their, sort of their first sort of chance at like, a big Hollywood American production. So yeah, it's very lucky man getting to do that. I did own a biography of Bruce Lee, which I believe that actually Robert Clouse actually wrote. I think it was just like Bruce Lee, the biography or something. I'm pretty sure Robert Clouse actually wrote that. We have Jackie taking on the mobsters in a very slapsticky fight down an alley, showing that this is going to be very different to what you've seen in sort of, say, Bruce Lee picture, like Enter the Dragon. This was going to be a lot more slapsticky, a lot more comedic in terms of the execution with the fight scenes. It's just a shame Jackie didn't have more control, but here he was just the star. He wasn't the producer. He didn't have much in the leeway in terms of like control on what was going on. So we learned Jackie is going to the race tonight, and his father doesn't want him training with his uncle, played by Mako. There's been loads of films like Conan the Barbarian. He voiced Aku in Samurai Jack. Dad wants Jerry to like be a doctor like his brother. So Jerry's like a fun-loving, spirited kind of guy. Doesn't want much responsibility, but he's quite a good fighter. The film plot-wise is, like I say, it's so simple. The plot of this movie is as simple as they come, and it could have, like I mentioned, it really could have worked as a Jackie Chan film. It really, instead of getting something that's like super hot, we get something that is like lukewarm at best, if you know what I mean, if I can sort of use that analogy. Jackie's English in this film, you have to remember, it's pretty early days, and overall he holds the film really well, Jackie Chan, for his first English speaking attempt. So we cut to Jackie training with his uncle, even going so far as to have like the Snake and Eagle shadow, like footmarks on the floor, if you remember when sort of the beggar role played by Yun-Soo Tim, where Chen Fu wakes up and he's got these footmarks waiting for him. They sort of like homage that a little bit here. So one could argue that the film was more in sync and in vein with Jackie's style than sort of The Protector was by James Glickenhaus. It was made 5 years later. I think this film is a lot more suited for Jackie Chan, definitely way more than what The Protector was. I will get round to reviewing The Protector soon, but I think this film is very much very much akin to what a Jackie Chan film could or like would be. I mean, The Protector wouldn't, well, so we'll get around to reviewing that, but I think that was a complete misfire in every regard. I will get round to reviewing that, as I say. I mean, the training scenes are still great fun here, like Mako throwing the balls at him and Jackie dodging them in many different ways, sometimes only just barely missing these balls that Mako's sort of throwing at him. The music and the 30s setting, as I keep saying, suits Jackie perfectly, of course. Miracles 9 years later even went on further with that whole 30s sort of gangster kind of ideas. So this kind of film was sort of, in a way, you could argue, is a bit of a precursor to Miracles, Canton Godfather, or Mr. Canton Lady Rose, whatever you want to call it. So the gangsters are told to call sort of Jackie out, and Donnie's like, we may have something there, when they cut to this roller skating derby again, something that foreshadowed another Jackie Chan vehicle in Winners and Sinners, where he rides roller skates. So if all the ingredients right in this movie, all the ingredients are there, and that's what I'm saying. It's just in the execution that it does falter and fail somewhat. To that end, with what it does involve with this film, Big Brawl does succeed. So the gangsters are all at the race. Also have Larry Drake here with the megaphone, who you may remember from Darkman as well. So the race is Jackie, Nancy's girlfriend, and their friend just completing in like a relay race with a baton, which sort of they go out the window in the last lap, and the whole thing is like something out of a Ninja Warrior episode or something like that. Going around this factory, then outside being blasted with water. I'm surprised they didn't have like monkey bars as well in there for good measure, because this thing is like a complete and utter assault course where they're sort of roller skating, around this factory. Watch out for a bit where Jackie does like a perfect diving forward roll to catch the baton, which is quite cool. We even get a freeze frame at the end of this race, like it's the end of like a Rocky movie or something. Like it pauses when like sort of Jackie's character crosses the finish line. It's sort of it ends like like in the Rocky movies where it all sort of freeze frames at the end of his training, and then it cuts to the last fight. It sort of does that sort of thing here. So for no reason at all, their teammate, Jug as he's known, agrees to go home, to not go home with them, and gets ambushed by the gangsters. And they start roughing him up and even pulling knives on him. So we cut to Jerry having a nice dance and schmaltz, and it's probably one of the closest scenes we ever get to Jack being sort of intimate with someone. Even though that is sort of me being very generous. It's not an intimate scene at all, but compared to what he was showing or has done in his sort of Hong Kong movies, this is the closest we sort of had got to sort of Jackie Chan doing that kind of scene, like an intimate kind of scene. So I love how when Jerry goes to visit his brother where he works in the clinic, and his brother just lights up a cigarette next to this old lady who's like ill in bed as well. They were times different then. He finds Jug beaten in the alley, so Jerry gets set up to fight the Wu brothers to test his skill, where Jackie uses like a bench and a bow staff, and two things that he used to much greater effect in Young Master the same year. Jerry's dad wants to know how he is going to earn money and has to pick up his brother's girlfriend from the airport, and his brother has never met or seen this girlfriend before, and Jerry is tasked with bringing her back from the airport. Has to meet her in San Francisco. They lure Jackie away from her when he meets his brother's future wife and take him to the big boss man. So the whole premise is like, fight in the brawl for me and I'll give you the girl back, right? They kidnap his brother's girlfriend who he's never met before. Jackie's going to pick her up. They kidnap her and said like, right, the Don's like, you can fight in the brawl for me, I'll give you the girl back. Now, I just wanted to record the girl that gets taken, right, his brother's girlfriend, you never see her again. Once she gets, sort of taken by the mafia, you do not see this actress again for the rest of the movie. It's never explained where they've put her, what they've done with her, is she okay? That is never explained. You never see her again. You never know where she's being held, if they're going to release her, if she gets released. It's sort of hinted at the end about it, but this idea of his brother's girlfriend being future wife or whatever being kidnapped, that sort of gets forgotten about as the film goes on. Yeah, this is sort of the plot catalyst to get Jerry to fight, but it's interesting that sort of what happens at the end of the movie. So in the meantime, they get like a prostitute to pretend to be his brother's girl, which is quite funny. She's meant to be like an educated, classy girl and trained nurse, and this one is like chewing gum and all sorts. She's very strict, like streetwise and everything that, like she's not classy at all. So like a few plot things here and there, like when Jackie goes to the brawl with this girl, he's left with his dad and brother. Surely after a while they would realise like this isn't his brother's girlfriend. They've just left her she gets left with like Jackie's dad and his brother. I mean, surely over the period of the conversation, him talking to her, he would probably suss that this is not the girl who is he's apparently going to be married, or his future girlfriend. So anyway, for that, Jackie and Mako try to sneak into the Dons to get the girl back. Now, like I say, if Jackie would have been in charge of the editing and the fighting, this scene could have been amazing. When him and Mako are trying to sneak in to get the girl back late at night, if Jackie was in charge of this, if Jackie had a lot more leverage in terms of, like I say, the choreography and what was going on, this scene could have been really fun, but it's just average fun, average at best. So one of the Don's men starts working with Morgan, who is the boss's rival, which really doesn't affect the plot whatsoever. This guy sort of goes to work with his boss's rival, and it doesn't really affect the plot at all. So we have a very brief sort of training montage to get Jerry ready for Texas, and I do love the idea that every time he makes a mistake he has to sleep with this giant fighting dummy, which is quite funny because they do like clips and show like little moments of him trying to sleep with this dummy, and it keeps on hitting him in the face because it's just so uncomfortable. So we are then at the Brawl in Texas, which is just a free-for-all basically. It's just a free-for-all wrestling bout, and like I say, the idea of Jackie Chan taking on wrestlers and things like that. It's quite cool, and I think that's what you always remember from this film. It's like, is that the one where he fights wrestlers? And that's what Battle Creek Brawl is. Well, whole film, a mafia don kidnaps a girl so Jerry will fight for him. That is the plot. That is the whole plot of the film. Like I say, when I said this film is simple, it is very simple. The plot is nothing groundbreaking. It's like, blackmail, I've got her, you fight for me. That is it. That is all that is. So I love, you know, when Jackie is at the Brawl in Texas, you notice how small Jackie is compared to the rest of the fighters. Like, he is minute compared to these wrestlers. He is tiny. Now, is the film bad? Right, just getting into that now. Oddly enough, no. It's not a bad film. There is an actual charm to this movie, which gives it a real sense of lightheartedness. And in that way, the film is very harmless. So as I say, at the Brawl, Nancy and Mako have gone with him, and I love when Jackie is fighting one of the wrestlers, and one of the wrestlers even at one point goes to drive a car to sort of run Jerry over. I'm pretty sure, is that in the rule book? I do not know. So Morgan asks Ligeti to take care of Jerry as he wants his wrestler Billy Kiss to win. Then we have like a fight at night, and all the spectators have like burning torches, like it's the end of like a Frankenstein movie or something like that. So now Mako gets kidnapped with a note for Jerry saying that he won't be hurt if he loses. They tie him to the banister and he escapes from the courthouse with said banister, which is quite funny. He rings the bell in the town to let Jerry know that he is okay, so Jerry can basically own and take on Billy Kiss. So we go to a movie house where Jerry beats the crap out of Ligeti, and probably the darkest fight in the whole movie, actually, when he's fighting him in terms of feel and the way the tone of that fight. It's quite a sinister little fight that they have. Jerry emerges to fight and beat Billy Kiss. The script for this movie must have been tiny, to be honest. There's not an awful lot of dialogue, especially in terms of the whole movie, and especially in that last third of the movie. There's not really an awful lot of dialogue, so I don't think the script would have been huge. I say that last third, there's not much dialogue going on, at all. So the film ends with Jerry winning and him and the Don smiling at each other for some reason, like they are best friends, and Dominici saying everything will be taken care of. What will be? I mean, are you going to let the girl go? Where is the girl? Have you been feeding her? He just goes, everything will be taken care of. And Jerry's happy, smiling, and like I say, his brother's girlfriend has been kidnapped. You don't know where she is. You don't know what they've done. She could be dead for all we know. And he just says everything will be taken care of. You can read into that whatever you mean. Or does it mean Jerry's going to be taken care of? I'd say you could read into that, the last bit of dialogue, as much as you want. Plus, also, he has to explain the fact he lied to his brother as well. Let's not forget that. But as I say, overall, it's a harmless movie. It really is a harmless movie. Aside from a few bits and some mildly offensive dialogue, the film is in many ways you could see as a kids' movie. And whilst not the best, to say the Big Brawl is bad, I think is incredibly unfair. It's one of them movies, like with all of them, like I say, when he did The Protector, it's just such a shame the powers that be did not give Jackie more control, and it's like, no, we know best, this is our movie, you're just the star. But as I say, I've never minded the Big Brawl. It's not a classic Jackie Chan by any means, but it's an interesting first attempt into the American market, and as I say, it's a very harmless film. There's a little bit of charm to this movie. Fight scenes are not great, but I mean, Jackie Chan does a well enough job with the material he's been given, and it's worth checking out just for Jackie Chan's first American effort. So thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you again soon.
Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.